Hey, what's up, Good Life? Thanks for joining me for today's 128 moment. This week marks the 1 year anniversary of the week that changed everything. A year ago this week, there was an NBA game that was suddenly canceled and one of the players tested positive for COVID. And that seemed to be one of those signs of like, hey, something more is coming. Later that week, I was actually out of town leading a retreat for some high school students at my kids' school. And while the kids were on the road to the retreat, there were rumors flying around everywhere that the president was about to have a news conference and lock down the whole country. It was unclear with each passing hour of that retreat whether we were even going to have it. But we were able to complete the whole thing that weekend, but little did we know that was the last in-person event for that school year. And late that Sunday night, I drove back to Bradenton from the retreat in order to preach on Sunday morning at Good Life. And we've been informed late on Friday afternoon we couldn't meet at the school, so we had one of our first services on the Sunday morning at our current location. But little did we know that Sunday would be our last in-person gathering for 3 whole months. And little did we know that the so-called 15 days to slow the spread that was announced the next week would become lockdowns that lasted for months. And in fact, I guess there's some states where they're still on some sort of lockdown to one degree or another. This has been a year of loss where many families, including our extended family, where we've lost loved ones. This has been a year of uncertainty as people have endured the loss of jobs and the impact on the economy and the uncertainty that comes from that. It's been a year of conflict where the pandemic seemed to be a spark that lit a fire of chaos across our country. And today, as we're 1 year away from the week that changed everything, I think we still have unanswered questions and many of us have uncertain fears. So to give us some insight on our times, I want us to look back to ancient times, to a moment in history of God's chosen people where they were living in the wake of suffering. The book of Lamentations was written on the heels of the Babylonian invasion of Judah in 586 BC. This really short but rich book was probably written by the prophet Jeremiah, and it describes the questions and the thoughts and the wrestlings of a man who's surveying the city of Jerusalem, the suffering of his people, and he's trying to figure out how to point them back to God. And I believe his perspective can help us grasp the year we've endured and face the year that is ahead. In Lamentations 3:21, it says that, "But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." It says, "The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him." Last March was a week, we had a week that changed everything. And if there's one thing that didn't change, it's the fact that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and no headline can change that. So consider how our view of the last year and the year to come would change if we really believe these verses. Our hope lies not in what we see, but in who God is. That no matter the circumstances, his love never ceases. That no matter how tough our days are, his mercies are new every morning. That no matter how many questions we face or how many pains we endure, God is faithful. Catch that. God is faithful no matter how life feels. And Jeremiah realized, he reached the conclusion that changed everything. He decided that God was his portion. He was saying that if I have God, I have all I need. So my hope is in him and him alone. Do you believe that? Do I believe that? Maybe even more importantly, do the people who know us, are they able to see that we believe that? This past year has been one we'll never forget. And nothing about it, though, has changed our mission to make Christ known to our neighbors and to the nations. And one of the best ways to make the good news known is to live like a people who know that Christ is their only hope. So are we living that way today? Are we living in such a way that no matter what the world brings at us, we can point the world to Jesus because we know that he is our portion and we know that he is enough? I love you guys and I miss you guys. Hopefully be able to join us on Sunday morning as we finish up the book of Acts, finishing our unfinished sermon series, at least finishing the text. We have one more week in it. We'll talk more about that on Sunday. We'll be at the church at 9:30 and 11 and online at 11. Hopefully you'll be able to join us. And until then, let's be a people who will go and love enough.